Hello, and welcome to the vlog. Things have been a bit delayed because I've been ill, basically. I don't know what it is. I've got a cold or something. The main symptom is that I've been really, really tired, so I've been sleeping a lot and not drinking beer by purpose of not wanting to feel absolutely terrible. But I am drinking beer today because it is a vlog, because I've recovered to the point where I feel comfortable drinking a beer, and it's a familiar one this time. It is. I don't know if I can't really bring it closer because I don't have autofocus because I'm still on the DSLR. Anyway, it is Guinness Foreign Extra, which is no ordinary Guinness. This is made in Nigeria, and it is about twice as strong as regular Guinness. And I think this is possibly my favourite of all the Guinness beers. Of which there aren't that many. There are more than there used to be. They've tried, the Dublin Porter and all kinds of different ones now. But it used to be the case that there was Guinness Draft, Guinness Original, and a few foreign variants, of which this is one. I actually found this in Tesco. If you look in the import section, you might have a spot of luck there. And it's, it's stronger and it's sweeter. But otherwise, it is the familiar black stuff. Apologies for the pour. It's not going to work out well, but honestly, it is probably best. It's not the best head in the world. It's got a nice colour though. Oh, that is a nice colour. Anyway, it is actually best to get rid of all of the carbon dioxide. And besides, there you go. Oh, yes. The perfect pint, just how I like it. Half and half. Well, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. So yes, since Polybius, what have I been doing? I've been working on the new video. But let's talk about Polybius. I've written out a list of topics in an attempt to be more organised. And it probably won't work. Because like I say, I've got the brain fog. That's one of the symptoms of this head cold that I've got. Just an inability to focus. I don't know if maybe that's the new normal now. I can't drink that, there's too much head. So yes, Polybius. In amongst all of this house-moving madness, which is still ongoing, we're kind of in the eye of the storm on that front. We're waiting for legal stuff to go ahead now. And then at some point in the next week or two, we're going to exchange contracts. That's the stage we're at. Once we've exchanged contracts, we'll have a date, and then things will start, well, to move. But anyway, stressful, and I'll be glad once it's over. It'll let me focus on doing videos, which will be nice. Except, of course, I'll have the stress of being in a new house and having to buy furniture. Because, well, this house is pretty pokey, and most of our furniture is trash. Quite frankly. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, it's an opportunity. A new house is exciting, at the very least. How's the beer? Sweet. That was mostly head, but I'll get to the beer in a bit. So Polybius, that was a long, tortuous video. Was 4 months. To be fair, I could have done it in easily 2 or 3 months, but I had a lot of other stuff going on at the same time, which rather put the brakes on. But yeah, finally got it out. Most of the delay at the end of it was waiting for people to get back to me with interviews and stuff. But yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure about the interviews. I'm not sure if they added anything to the video, but I think some people liked them, so probably worth it. Probably. But yes, it did. The video, it came out, and it seemed to do rather well, actually. In fact, it might be one of my strongest performing videos yet, which is something to celebrate. Hey. Oh, that's what I was supposed to get a party popper, and at this point, boo, but I don't have any, so you'll have to use your imagination on that front. Which also reminds me, I hit 1 million subscribers, which is, let's be quite honest, a meaningless milestone that actually has no bearing at all on my video production. Nothing at all. But it is nice. It's, as far as meaningless milestones go, hitting the big 1,000,000 is nice. It is nice. But no, it doesn't really mean much. I mean, what does it mean? It means it means 1 million plus people have clicked subscribe. The actual figure is probably closer to 1.4 million, something like that. Because that's a lot of people have unsubscribed from me, you know. Like people who insisted that I only did COD videos, for instance. Some of them have gone. Most of them probably have gone. Some of them haven't, though. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. Oh, chocolate. It's nice. Chocolate and licorice. And yeah, it seems a little bit silly to me. You know, you've got an Irish beer brewed in Nigeria and then shipped back to the UK, but I'll take it. It's... Yeah, I'll take it. It's nice. It's certainly a step up from your regular Guinness, which is still a nice stand-in, but not very special. To be fair, this one isn't that special. It is just a stronger Guinness, but all the same. I'm actually running low on beer. I've only got a couple of interesting bottles left, so I might have to restock at some point. So yes, Polybius video. It did really well. In fact, it's up to about 1.5 million now? Maybe even more, I don't know. I've not checked it in a week or so. But yeah, it shot up, it did really well. And the fact that it's a really long video as well. Well, it's 70 minutes. Means, in terms of minutes watched, I think it's the strongest performance ever. Which is nice. It is nice. And couple that with my deft use of monetization. You might have noticed I had ad breaks at a few of the natural breakpoints in the video. You know, I'm not one to spam adverts, but when it comes to monetization, honestly, as far as you patrons are concerned, block away. I don't care. But I'm not going to turn down free money from those people who are not going to block ads. You know, because it's there for the taking. And I feel as though I'm in a transitional state. Maybe one day I'll have no need for adverts and I'll be able to subsist entirely on Patreon income. But right now, my instinct tells me, you know, take the money where you can get it, and it's better to have diverse sources of income, because if one gets shut down, at least you've got the other. Because in terms of income, YouTube is a bit of a risky venture, and anything you can do to mitigate that risk, and diversification is one of those things, is, I think, a wise tack. So, ad revenue is one of those things. It's a pain sometimes. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's awful. And for Polybius, it was actually really good. I think it's my highest earning video ever. In the short space of time that it's been out, it's earned more than any other video that I've ever done. I mean, I'm not supposed to tell you exact figures, I'm not supposed to tell you stuff, but I can give you an idea of the scale. The Doom video, in its entire lifespan, has earned something in the region of $2,000 to $3,000. Which is, I'll be honest, that's a pittance. Considering that's over, what, a year and a half now, a bit longer, and considering that that was about 3 months' work, yeah, that's terrible. The Polybius video has outpaced the earnings of all my other videos by a factor of 3 or 4. In just a couple of weeks, it had already earned 3 times more than my highest earning video ever. It did remarkably well. It really did. So I'm quite pleased with that, obviously. And not just because I'm about to move house and I'm desperate for cash. So yeah, in terms of the raw figures, in terms of the ad revenue, the views, the reception, I'm pretty happy with it. It went well. It was a good video. And yeah, no, I'm happy. Some people, I mean, obviously, not everyone was expecting a video on Polybius. I think some people, they would write it off pretty quickly. Oh, an hour-long video on a game that doesn't exist. Well, yeah, actually. That's exactly what it... Well, it's not exactly what it is. It's what it is on the face of it. Really what it is it's an analysis of not the game, because the game doesn't exist, but the cultural impact and the the development of the myth and the composition of it. That's what it is. It's a cultural analysis, really, more than anything. But anyway, yeah. I think most people were, pretty happy to watch it, to be taken along for the ride and the analysis. I was a bit reluctant with the fact that, there are real people involved. Some of them involved in a non-consensual way. Yeah. Obviously, the guy behind the myth, KK. I tried to be really coy. I revealed as little as possible with regards to his identity. Because I did a lot of research, I did a lot of digging into most people involved, people that I might have suspected at some point. Like the guy who first posted it on Usenet, I checked into his background, Zoob. I found his real name, I found his place of work, his email address, possibly his address. Because I thought he was a sock puppet. I thought he was just a stand-in for Kurt. But it turns out, no, he's actually a different person. So, you might have thought in the video, oh, so you're just going to take Zoob's word for it. Well, there's more to it than that. I did a lot of background reading. And, yeah, that background research, coupled with the email exchange I had with him, that was enough to satisfy me, that he wasn't anything to do with it. Anyway, yeah, but obviously, I did name a couple of names. Cyberyogi, he was in there. He was the prime suspect. For the longest time, everybody thought it was him. But it wasn't him, of course. He was just a patsy. The conspiracy theorist in me thinks that maybe it was a deliberate attempt to pin it on him. Maybe some of the people in the RGVAC news group knew that Kurt was behind it, and in some sort of arrangement they agreed to point a finger to Cyberyogi. I don't know, because there are two people. Al Cosso, who I think he had a personal relationship with Kurt. I think they had dealings at least. He pointed, and who else was it? Someone else, I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, there is the potential there for a conspiracy. Some behind-the-scenes communication as an effort to push the blame onto Cyberyogi. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I was a little bit, I reveal his website and his real name, but that's, it's on his website. It's pretty, you don't have to dig to find it. But I was reluctant to do that. In fact, I pulled a couple of punches. In fact, there was one screenshot that referenced the drinking of urine, and Cyberyogi essentially, he said, "Oh, I don't drink urine. I just wash I just disinfect my throat with it." And that clip, well, that screenshot of that conversation was to appear when I said he was a little eccentric. I decided not to put that in there. Of course, I'm revealing that to you now. But hopefully he won't see this. Anyway, he is a little eccentric. And that's fine, nothing wrong with being eccentric. But, that was a kindness I extended to him, because I didn't want people to think of him badly. And even Kurt, I didn't want people to think badly of Kurt. So I really tried to... I put more focus on coinup.org than I did on his identity. I tried to mask him as much as possible. But at the same time, I wanted to reveal who was behind the myth. So, yeah, that was tough. That was tough. Surfing a knife edge, really, of investigative journalism and doxing. Because I really didn't want to be accused of doing the latter. So, it was publicly available information. And I tried to be as coy as possible with the revelation. And I got away with it. I think I got away with it. I don't know. As far as Fallout is concerned, I don't think anybody involved has had anything bad happen. I did sort of observe tweets to and from some of the accounts, and there hasn't been anything really. There hasn't been a witch hunt. which is good, because I don't want that to be a witch hunt. As far as I'm concerned, the case is pretty done. There are more mysteries within Polybius. There are things that I don't know. There are things that are unknowable. I think only the people behind the myth could really shed some light on some factors. For instance, one thing that could be the case is there may be more than one person involved. And I don't really know why. The motive, it was clearly, I said in the video, he wanted to drive traffic to his website. And I think there's a colour to that statement that implies he was in it for clicks and only clicks. Like, getting traffic to his website would earn him loads of AdSense revenue or whatever. And I don't think that's the case. But I think there's definitely some factor regarding attention. There was definitely, some attention seeking. Whether it was a viral campaign for one of his friend's film projects, I don't know. And it's impossible to know, really. Because it might be for a project that never came to light. Maybe they were planning on something. It's impossible to know. But I am very confident that I followed the trail to the source. The trail ends at coinop.org, and it goes no further. So, like I say, he's at least complicit. Apart from that, pretty straightforward. Pretty, what did we do? We just went over all the evidence, broke it down. Yeah, but I think people really liked the investigation style. So I might do something similar again in the future. Maybe. Who knows? If it's applicable. One thing that I'm thinking, the Origin format, for instance. I have real issues with the format. It's, at the minute, doing the Origins, it's like you start in the present and then you work backwards. But some of the transitions are a bit jerky. So I'm thinking framing Origins as an investigation, maybe that could work. But I don't know. There are two ways of doing it, Like, what was the first game to do X? You can either start out with the prescience. I know what the first game was because I've spent weeks researching it. Or you can sort of start naive and sort of uncover the truth with the viewer. And I think the latter, of course, it's entirely false because by the time you've written the script, you know. So you could. That's the thing. It is a little bit false. Like when I started writing, or when I put the Polybius video out, I knew exactly who it was. I think I knew before I started writing. But that enabled me to craft a story. So I don't know. I think there's potential for the Origins format to use that sort of investigatory style. But I don't know. It might work, it might not. So my goals for the Polybius video were threefold. They were to try doing some interviews. That was really goal number one. Also to do original research and, to solve the mystery, really, as much as it can be solved. But yeah, I wanted to demonstrate, the key thing that I wanted to demonstrate is my ability to do original research. Because, not just the ability to do research, but also to drill into a topic. Because even if you do original research, if you're only doing a superficial history of something, it's really sort of hard to demonstrate the fact that you've done research. Because if I were to tell you a potted history of text adventures, for instance, Colossal Cave Adventure, Zork, Infocom, which is exactly what I do in the introduction of my next video, which I'll talk about in a minute. All of that information is available on Wikipedia. So if I do a little neat couple of minute history of text adventures to set the scene, for instance, and I do a lot of research on the matter, and I play the original games, and I do reading beyond that what's on Wikipedia. If I present it in a compact, neat little fashion, it's unlikely that I'll have any sort of revelations that would clearly show that I'd done my research. And it's really, really easy for somebody to say, oh, You've just read that on Wikipedia, which is which is actually, it's a fairly common criticism of anybody who does like history video or anything. Like a lot of people in, you know, the retro side of things, or even analytical games, it's a common critique. And in some cases, you know, it does ring true. Like sometimes I do find myself, if I've got to run down a list of games, you know, like if there's some obscure sequel to a game that I'm doing a retro ahoy on, I'll mention it, but I don't, you know, I don't really have any novel insights. I'll just talk for a couple of paragraphs. And, you know, I'm not going to give you any real insight. I just want to show the game in action. Like one thing that comes to mind, enemy territory Quake Wars, for instance. I didn't have any. It's a, you know, it's an attempt to sort of get like a team shooter going on, like Battlefield or something, but in the Quake universe. And it's kind of okay, but it's also kind of rubbish. But I'm not going to say it's rubbish because I generally don't like. If you slag a game off, somebody will complain because it will be their favourite game. So I don't like making people angry. So I tend to sort of devolve into platitudes when it's just reeling off stuff like that. Like, it's not my job really to criticise Quake 4, so I'm going to be relatively kind. It was like, you know, Quake 4 is okay. It's not great. It's okay. It's like Doom 3, but transitioned into the Quake universe. And it plays a little bit better than Doom 3. It's a bit faster. The levels are a bit more open, and it kind of fails on the horror element, but in terms of the combat and the movement, it feels a little bit more fluid. Plus, it's got the really cool struggification bit. Apart from that, though, yeah, nothing special. But I'm not going to say a game's nothing special. Well, maybe I would. But I tend to dance around it because, I don't know, it's not the point of the video to critique the game, so I just say, you know, I'll dress it up a little bit and say, oh, it was a mite underwhelming, and then move on. But it's tough, you know, it's tough. And you've got to remember, you know, not everything has to be a deep drilling. You know, sometimes superficial is fine if that's the goal, you know. So the next video I'm doing is The Secret of Monkey Island, and I start on text adventures. That's where the adventure genre was at the start of the 80s. And the first act covers the transformation from the humble text adventure through Infocom, through Sierra, and the evolution to the graphic adventure, to the emergence of LucasArts, and everything up to the release of The Secret of Monkey Island. But I don't want to spend too long on text adventures because they're not really directly relevant, and one day I might do a more in-depth video on text adventures. It's unlikely because they're pretty boring, but I might do one day. So I just really want a couple of minutes just to brief everybody who's watching who might not be familiar with the genre, just on, you know, where they came from, how they developed, who Infocom were, what they did, and then the common flaws, criticisms of text adventures. And I really don't want to spend more than a couple of minutes doing that, because otherwise there's going to be a lot of text on the screen, and, you know, the video might get a little bit kludgy. So I've really got to skip over them, but it's going to be a superficial appraisal, which is what it's designed to be, and I think honestly that's what's going to work best. But if somebody takes that out of context, that section, they'll accuse me of being superficial. But you can't win. But the idea of the video is we're going to open up slowly. We're going to get into graphic adventures, and then we're going to go a little bit more analytical. And then in the midsection, we're going to get to The Secret of Monkey Island, Secret of Monkey Island 2, and we're going to get, you know, deep drill down, hopefully. Not too deep, because you don't want to get hung up on facile details. But, yeah, we'll see. So, the progress on this video, I'm currently writing. I've recorded a whole bunch of adventure games. Everything pre-Monkey Island, really. So a bunch of Sierra games, a bunch of text adventures, and also some of the early LucasArts stuff. I think I've played everything that will play in Scum VM. So I'm missing some of the early, the really early LucasArts stuff, like Coronis Rift, Rescue on Fractalus, the Eidolon, Oh, there's a bunch of them. I haven't played those because Scum VM won't play them, so I'm going to have to emulate them, and I need to find ROMs and stuff. But I will get to them. So yeah, and I've written about half of the first act, which is about a sixth of the script. But this is going to be a long one. It's going to be, I think it's going to be an hour long. It's going to be a good old meaty retro ahoy. I hope, anyway. But yeah, it should be a good one. Anyway, Monkey Island is one of my favourite games. And I've got some pretty cool stuff, actually. I bought a copy of this book. Can you see that? Ooh, it's lenticular on the cover. Ooh. It is Rogue Leaders, The Story of LucasArts. And I'll be honest, I could criticise this book, but it is really cool. And it's got, you know, loads of concept art, and difficult to show you because I can't really see the screen. But it's got, you know, yeah, it's about 200 pages or something, maybe more actually. 250 pages, all full colour. Text, original interviews, and a load of concept art. It's actually a really valuable insight into the world of LucasArts. This is my original research. Unfortunately, Monkey Island only occupies about 10 pages, which is a bit disappointing. It's not bad, but I was hoping for more. I tell you, only about a third, the front third of the book is LucasArts good games. The back 2/3 are all, you know, stuff, not necessarily bad games, but just stuff that maybe you don't care about as much as Monkey Island. It's all Star Wars. Yeah, back when action games were the dominant force and adventure games had died off. It's a shame, really. It's not a shame, it's just I wish there was a little bit more on the adventure games. But it's a bit, you know, it's an interesting book. It's expensive, though. I probably wouldn't recommend you, if you look on Amazon, some of these copies go for like £100 or more. I was very, very lucky to find a copy of this on eBay. It cost me £30, which is, I think that's a pretty good price. I'm grateful to the guy who listed it, because I think on Amazon the cheapest you'll find it is £60, which is, well, it's quite a lot. So, Monkey Island is next. It's going to take me a little while because it's a long video, but hopefully, well, it'll be done eventually. Done when it's done, right? You know, that's the that's the approach I've got to take. I'd love to get it out next week, but it isn't happening. The mountain of work is just too much. Plus, I've got a lot of stuff on with the house move, and it's my son's birthday next week. He's 2 years old, so he's just getting into the age where he might understand what a birthday is. So yeah, no, I don't know. We'll see. He likes opening presents, I'm sure. Anyway, so that'll be nice. Anyway, so yeah, Monkey Island, and then what's after that? This will probably be after I've moved house, I think. But yeah, I've got a few things planned up. My schedule tends to sort of solidify. As I do one video, obviously I've decided on what I'm doing next. And then as I'm doing that video, what I'm doing after that kind of coalesces and solidifies. So it's like a bridge that sort of builds ahead of my progress very slowly. And I don't know where it's going to go, but I know where the next step is. So I'm thinking the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to revisit the Origins format. Because I think the Origins format has some promise. It needs some work. I think there are some kinks in the formula, but I reckon I can work them out. I think that the next one is going to be slightly more narrative based. Rather than centering on trying to find the first, I think I'm going to look at it. Instead of going from the present backwards, I'm actually going to take an arc. A moment in video game history where one thing transformed into another. So it's not really, it's actually a step away from what Origins was originally intended to be, but I know this idea that I've got will work. It's my intuition. It is about the Chickenometer, which is it's a form of health bar in a time before the health bar was codified as the standard. It was a sort of a malleable era where health was represented in different ways. So it's really the video claims to focus on this Chickenometer, which is just one facet, but really it'll focus on the representation of health as a whole. And the evolution from the arcade style, one hit and you're dead, to the sort of the more conventional health bar style. Like Street Fighter 2, I think Street Fighter 2 did a lot to cement the bar as the dominant style. Where you've got the sort of the variable style that sort of goes from right to left. And we'll talk about, where that came from. We'll talk about the Chickenometer, which is probably my favourite style of health bar because it's cool. There's a cool revelation about the Chickenometer. One of the things that it inspired, that's a nice little twist. And other than that, it's just going to be a little slab of video game history. And I think it'll work pretty well. I think that'll be pretty cool. Beyond that, what else do I have? I've written down some notes, and I can't read this. This note card. This is actually one of the planning notes that I had for Nuclear Fruit. What's that say? Tension over technology, impotence through checkmate. So that's probably from the nuclear weapons bit. But on the other side, I've written notes about what to talk about in this vlog. What does that say? I can't read my own handwriting. Never mind. I also have plans for a video about the Amiga. I'm a big fan of the Amiga, and I think there are some interesting stories to tell there. So in Doomed, for instance, I told the story. Well, it's a story of two things. It's an attempt to get Doom on the Amiga, and it's also the last few breaths of games on the Amiga. So it was a twofold story, and it was a sad one. But I want to talk about the Amiga's birth. Not just the birth, but also how the Amiga found its way into not just my heart, but the heart of most of Northern Europe. And so, yeah. What does that say? I can't read that. Never mind. I've written something. But, yeah. Monkey Island, Monkey Island, Monkey Island. That's my focus right now. That and all the other stuff that's going on. I should probably focus on getting better, because I'm still not 100%. I probably shouldn't be drinking. Oh, it is strong, this stuff. It's like Guinness. Regular Guinness loses its taste. Like it's just like drinking water halfway through. But this, it's got flavour to the last. And it's warmed up a bit now, so it's really starting to... It's good, it's nice. It's just... At 7.5%, it is quite strong. I don't know. Anyway, another thing I want to do at some point is I want to do a brief history of music. Like a brief history of graphics, but for music. But rather than try and do like a single monolithic video on that topic, I think I want to do it piecemeal. So I'm going to focus on one aspect. I don't know exactly what aspect it will be. It might be the emergence of CD audio in games, or it might be, I don't know, maybe the origin of music, or the use of MIDI in the PC titles from the early 90s, or soundtracker mod music that came a little bit earlier. I don't know. Or maybe some of the hardware stuff, like the Commodore 64's SID chip, or the Mega Drive. The Mega Drive had, what was it? It's the Yamaha AM something. I can't remember. No, the FM synthesis it uses. that's, yeah, there's a few potential interesting topics for music. And I think I'll probably approach it as, yeah, something that I'll do piecemeal. There are some interesting challenges that doing a video on music throws up. One of them being that music is... You can't really talk over music if you want to demonstrate it. Graphics, you can put on the screen, you can talk. Music, you have to stop if you want people to hear it. So that's going to be a challenge. Maybe not that much of a challenge, it just means I have to add a pause in the script. And, you know, tell people, listen to this. Or maybe I can switch the voice from spoken to text and have music in the background and then text indicating what they should be listening for. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway. By my reckoning, we are at about 40 minutes, which is, you know, not the longest vlog in the world, but honestly, it would do me good to have an early night. And it's already 10 o'clock. Well, it's 10:15. So I should probably wind it up here. I actually plan on doing another vlog quite soon, because in all of this house moving stuff and being ill, I've missed a vlog out. This one was supposed to be in September. The last one was supposed to be the start of August. It ended up being near the end. So yeah, I'm due another vlog already. But I have an idea. It's going to be a little bit different. There's going to be no drinking involved. I think it's going to be an eating vlog, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I'll explain it when it comes around to doing it. It should be fun. It should be fun. Although I need to find a day when. Well, it involves eating 3,000 calories, so I need to plan it. Anyway, sorry if I've had the brain fog, so I'm maybe not the most together, but I'm probably okay. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully, if I get a decent night's sleep, and you know, maybe I'll be able to do some writing tomorrow. I don't know. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, farewell.